Good morning, everyone. So today, I'm very excited to bring Paul Leendertz back on. I did a live with him a while back and it was awesome. So he is the founder of Wheel of Life. Oh, he just popped on now, and I know it's been hard for us to connect to make this happen, so I'm very excited. And okay, there we go. And then, oh, someone's saying good afternoon. Where are you from? That is good afternoon. Okay, we're almost, I got voice, got some. Oh, of course you had to show the beautiful scenery and make me all jealous. There we go.
There we go. Sorry, I'm behind on the technology.
No, it's all good. So good morning, it's your afternoon. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Today's a beautiful day here. Yeah, as you can see.
Yes.
I'm sitting at the end of a pasture at the top of like a pretty high mountain.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's some free range sheep around me. It's really nice. If they come in view, I'll put them on video.
Okay, so Paul's in Switzerland, and I'm super jealous. We loved it there. We went there years ago in a tiny town called, it was like Gimmelwald or something, but it was the best. I remember like hiking up the mountains with the cows with the like full bells on, and you just get fresh water out of a stream. You'd get like cheese that was made up in the hills. You just like do like a leave your money, take the cheese. Same with their summer sausage and picking all the alpine strawberries, and oh, I miss it. It was so good.
Wow. Yeah, you pointed out some really good things here. It's shocking to me. After being here now, it really is I really think it's a higher consciousness area of the world. People seem to care. Just the average person cares more compared to Canada, unfortunately. Like, I grew up in Canada. I haven't traveled much in my life, actually, and it's shocking. The animals are treated better here, and yeah, you can just get spring water almost anywhere, and many things are for sale at the side of the road, and you just leave the money, and no one's even there to guard things. You can just leave your bicycle outside the grocery store and not even lock it. You just walk away. Yeah, it's a different world.
Kind of how it should be, right?
Yeah, well, that's why I'm excited to talk today, because
yes, that's what I was going to say. This is a good segue into like, how did this all start? What is the root cause behind where we're at today?
Beautiful. As you know, I've kind of devoted my life to understanding, the root cause of cancer. So I think you mentioned that I have Wheel of Life, and I have my book, The Root Cause of Cancer. But really, it's also how I just approach life in general. I want to understand what's really going on. I don't like to take things for granted and just listen to an authority or something. I really like to think for myself and go backwards and see like what's behind the recent media broadcast. Like, who decided to say what they said on the news, for example? Who decides that? So these types of questions help you kind of understand the world better. So I think an important question important thing to understand is, how did this pandemic, what led to this pandemic, really? And what I'd like to talk about might be challenging for some people to hear, because, to really solve big problems like this, we have to really take responsibility and start making changes. And that can be a burden sometimes for people, because people can be so overwhelmed in their life already, tired, with just so many responsibilities, that then if someone comes along and says, listen, you got to take more responsibility, it can just be stressful. However, if you understand some of the things I want to share today, then really it's the pandemic is an opportunity for massive positive change in the world. I think like now is the time to actually start making changes that really do lead to a better world, like a higher consciousness world. And we can do that. So it's not easy, but as a human being, every single day you get to put your time and your energy towards something. So if you're putting your time and energy towards just making money unconsciously and not really caring about who you work for, or if you're just eating food unconsciously and not really caring how the food was produced, then it's like you're not really a responsible human being. You're just sort of living unconsciously. And unfortunately, life is often meaningless when you do that. So, thinking more and taking responsibility for life in a deeper way definitely comes with more responsibility. But as a result, long term, you end up being happier and healthier, and you really can feel good about, proud about the human race that you're part of, or proud about how you contributed to the human race and what we see in the world. I was having a conversation with someone recently, and so I haven't forgot the question. What is the root cause of the pandemic? I'm almost there. But I just spoke with someone recently, and we were talking about how if an alien race came through the solar system and they were flying past, say, Venus, they would probably think, well, that's a shitty planet. And then if they were to go past Mars, they would say, that's even worse. I would never want to live there. And then if they come across the Earth, they would probably be shocked and impressed. Like, oh my God, this place is beautiful. It's full of like millions and millions of different life forms, like fish, insects, animals, and it's so incredibly beautiful. And there's water everywhere, and we have beautiful mountains, and it's really one hell of a rare place as far as the human race knows. It's the only one we know of. And yet, if aliens went by, they'd probably wonder what the hell is going on, because the one species on this planet that seems to have the most control over any, compared to any of the other species, is poisoning their water, is behaving in ways that make themselves sick, and then not seemingly, they don't seem to care, and then they try to make themselves better by using some kind of artificial poison, like pharmaceutical drug, for example. If you take a handful of pharmaceutical drugs, it will kill you. It's not a health principle. So we just have like all these problems in the human race, and the only way we're ever going to change it is if massive numbers of people, like more and more, really start taking responsibility for this whole world, not just focusing on making a paycheck or something, but being willing to face your fears, letting go of what really isn't serving your life, going into the unknown and striving for a life that really has meaning. So you're a contributor to a beautiful world. It's a huge task. Like, I'm talking about a big thing, but like I said, if you're a human being, it means you're in that position. You are in a position where you can actually contribute to a better world or not. And so that brings me to the root cause of the pandemic. So what you'll see is, we've been doing a little bit of research, my wife Ari and I, and the percentage of people that eat organic food or free-range animals is very low across in all the countries of the world. So in Canada, I might remember this incorrectly, but it's close though. I'll remember it closely. It's about 3%. 3% of the whole entire country either is aware of how important it is to eat organic food or pasture-raised animals, or care. So I think a lot of people just don't even know why that's so important, and that's what I want to talk about today, because it actually, I think it's a huge, huge contributing factor to why we're experiencing a pandemic today. So let me just explain some basics. When animals are raised inside of factory settings, which is the majority of animals are raised inside of a building, and they don't get any sunlight, they don't have access to any kind of freedom, really. They don't have fresh air, they're eating food they're not even designed for. They're very unhappy, congested, and they get sick. It's horrible. If you actually just Don't spend too much time looking this up because it'll just stress you out, because it's insane what's happening. But pigs and chickens, for example, just live horrible, torturous lives. It's shocking. I can't believe human beings do this. And so what happens is then hundreds and thousands of them die all the time. You know, I used to have a construction business in the past, and one of my employees, my foreman, used to work in a factory setting in the winter when we weren't working. And he told me that his job was to just collect the dead animals. So he would go in every day and he would collect 25 dead turkeys. Next day there'd be 40 dead turkeys. The next day there'd be 30 dead turkeys, and so on. And this is the case in all the factory farms. Now you might think, like, why am I talking about this? How is this related to the pandemic? But let me get to vaccines, because this environment is what's causing the sickness. Okay, like all these animals are dying. So someone's got to take responsibility for this. Like, this is shocking, because sometimes you just have hundreds of animals just dead in this big, huge factory settings, or even thousands, because some of these factory barns, which don't even have windows, I've walked up to them. They're way off the roads, like all throughout Canada and many countries. I was just in Germany recently. There's these huge buildings you'll see way off the road. And I think they're just hidden there, so people don't really know just how awful this is. And you'll have 20,000 pigs in one building, and they literally can't even turn around in their cage. They have to stand and not move. So think about freedom there, and now think about what's happening to the average person today with regards to their freedom. So there's a little bit of, I think, some karma going on here. I'm sorry to say it, but unless we actually take responsibility and change, I think the karma is going to come, because we can't expect to live this way and not have these results. Because so what happens is, let me stay focused here. The animals get sick and die. Then we have somehow the explanation for that ends up being that a virus got them. So birds that die in the thousands, the swine, that's because of the bird flu, and that's because of some apparent virus that got them. And then with the pigs, well, the reason they're dying is because that's the swine flu. So another label, and then we have a special vaccine for that. But the actual real cause of the sickness, it has nothing to do with the virus. It's because of how they're raised. Because I've grown up on a farm, and I always free-ranged all of my animals, and I'm surrounded by animals today that are free-range, and they don't get sick. They just don't get sick. And it's the same for a human being. If you really have your needs fulfilled, if you really are living in a healthy environment, and your authorities are somehow contributing to your well-being, then and you're also looking after yourself, then you don't get sick. And I'm a great example, because I don't even have a family doctor. I haven't had one for over 30 years. I don't take vaccines. I've never taken one, and I never get sick. And I mean never. Like, I haven't been sick in, I don't know, 20 years. Because sickness isn't actually normal. In our society, it's come to, people are starting to believe that it's normal to get sick. It's like it's just part of life. But it's actually not normal. When you get sick, it means your needs haven't been fulfilled. That's what it actually means. So what you have to do is go, okay, what has not been fulfilled for me recently? Have I been sleeping properly? If it's no, then now you know why you're sick. Have I been eating fast food? If the answer is yes, then now you know why you're sick. Because fast food is full of meat from these types of animals. So how do we get to a pandemic out of this? Well, a vaccine company, if you just think about the actual values and integrity of a company like that, like, what do they actually care about? So these vaccine companies that are selling billions and billions of doses of vaccines for the bird flu, for chickens, and for pigs, they're making enormous amounts of money. Do you think they actually care about those animals?
No.
Obviously not, right? Obviously not. It's disturbing just to be in the presence of animals locked in a barn like that, sick and unhappy. It's very disturbing, but not to them. They don't care, because as long as that goes on, they can just keep selling this false promise that a vaccine is going to be the solution to that problem, which of course it's not. So year after year after year, it's the same result. They say new viruses must be coming out because the birds keep dying, the chickens keep dying, the pigs keep dying. So what happens is, when our entire society is paying the vaccine companies to do this, because when you eat non-organic food or commercially raised animals, you're actually paying the farmer to do that, to operate like that. You're making the farmer wealthy and encouraging him to keep doing that. And then because he's doing that, vaccine companies are coming in and making billions of dollars off the sickness. So what happens is, the vast majority of people don't understand or don't care. Like, once you understand, take responsibility. If you haven't understood until now, forgive yourself, but now take responsibility and be part of the solution. So what we have then is these big vaccine companies getting rich, like really, really wealthy. And how they're doing that is off of disease. It's off of, as a general statement, darkness, like corruption, like insanity, like psychopathic ways of making money. Like who does that? Why would you want to make money off of sickness and disease? So now what we have, after years and years and years of this, all these farmers that don't give a shit how they're raising their animals because they just care about the money. And then all kinds of people that don't give a shit, and they go and eat McDonald's and they eat all this crap, or they just buy whatever meat and they don't care either. Now we have really rich companies that are as dark as you can imagine. And so now those companies, they just want more power. So they just, now they want to bring this solution to health right into the human race, because you can only make so much money off of chickens and pigs. So now let's make money off of human beings. And let's just tell the whole world, the reason you're sick isn't because you're eating these animals that are sick that we've been injecting with vaccines. It has nothing to do with that. We'll just tell you the same story. It's because a virus got you too. And now we'll make money off of you as well. So does that make sense for how we've actually come to this pandemic as one of the main contributing factors? Have I explained that well enough?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's stuff I've been sharing as well. And my whole journey has kind of started and keeps progressing. But it started with the complete disconnect that we have with ourselves, then community, and then our food in the earth. And the more we keep trying to push nature away and thinking we can do better, the more harm we're doing to ourselves and our planet, and causing, like you said, this disease. We've been living in this comfort in this world of conveniences, that when we're kind of pushed out of our comfort zones, we just want someone to fix it for us. Like you said, we're not willing to take responsibility for it. We're not willing to do it. We're just, we're like, oh, we don't want to be uncomfortable. Just someone else do it for me. Someone else do it. Which is like, oh, the doctor tells me to do this. Fine. Oh, I should take this pill. Fine. Oh, we need this injection to get back to normal. Okay, fine. That's what I'll do. No one is willing, like you said, to take responsibility, to do their own research, to learn and do things. And nature always wins. Like I said this in a rant the other day, that the more we push back, the harder nature is going to come, and they always win. And I think one of the things too is to kind of mention, because I'm just watching the comments, is I would say, I don't know, this is not really on topic, but just the way that you're probably watching the way meat is grown and animals are grown, there's a whole way we can live together. Right? Like regenerative farming, which actually helps the earth. And we are actually meant to live together, animals on the earth, and, and it is a whole cycle, but we've just totally destroyed that whole relationship with animals as well. I was going to go on a segue there, and then lead you back into what's happening. And then I lost my train of thought, but,
yeah, well, I love everything you're saying. I agree completely.
I think what I was
Yeah, so
that's what I was going to go on, Paul, was it was the science. That's where the disconnect comes from, right? Because we've been pushed into also this, like we've been pushed into moving away from nature, moving away from divine, moving away from all these things. And it's like, no, trust in man, trust in the science, trust in this. And people don't realize that all of that's been manipulated. Exactly what you described perfectly is to sell the sickness. You create the sickness, sell that, and then create the cure. And it keeps people in this cycle. And there's no science behind this. That now has become a religion and a propaganda word that has led us still to continue to be in this cycle of victim mode and giving up our responsibility because of science.
yeah. Yes, science has become one of the most powerful marketing strategies probably in the world. Like in the past, in the far past, you know, most people probably understand that the certain religions were using, you know, explanations about God to control people. You know, like if God says this, then you should do it. And they made a lot of money that way. Like the Vatican's one of the richest corporations on the planet, and it's all because they have, they wield the power of, God knowledge. And so God is this thing for, that can't be measured for sure. No one really knows for sure, if God exists or God doesn't exist. It's kind of like a virus, like most people, I would say 99% of people don't ever see a virus. Like I've never seen one. I'll go my whole entire life and never see a virus. But of course they provide them in, these computer program images. Like, yeah, see, they exist. It's like you can just Photoshop a virus and control the world. But yeah, science, they've just learned that, look, a lot of people don't believe just anything anymore. They're not just going to believe stuff about God or whatever. Let's have some evidence here. We need like something that we can really rely on. So that was kind of like how I think science began, and people then could say, okay, yeah, this is proof. Now I believe it. And then as the time went on, people just started to kind of set aside their own independent thought and really begin to just rely on the science. Like, okay, well, if the research says so, or if the scientists say that that's the truth, then it must be, because that's how science is supposed to work. But the corrupt have just gone right into science now, and they've just realized, look, people don't think for themselves. All we got to do is get them to believe the science, because they already do. So we just got to create our own science, So we'll do our own studies and have our own results, and then people will just do whatever we say. Like they can convince people to do almost anything. In certain religions, you can convince people to go and kill other religions based on some kind of a story. And today you can convince people to take a needle with an unknown substance that the person who's injecting it in you doesn't even know what it is, and just trust that that's what you're supposed to do. And that will make you safe. That'll make you healthy, even though you've been fine. Like, I'm totally healthy. I would never take a vaccine. Oh my God. Never. It's not a health principle. It's just silliness. It's very corrupt. It's one of the darkest things I've ever seen happen to the human race. But like I said, we've created it. So I think the solution to the pandemic is like definitely standing up for your freedom and putting your foot down every way you possibly can, and speaking up and facing your fears, but also then energizing the new world. So, find an organic farmer and start buying your meat directly from a free range farmer. Start buying organic food and start energizing a new healthy world. So you're making a stand to the corruption, but you're also actually starting to energize the world we want to see. Because I don't want to see a pandemic world, because that's what we're living in right now, is a pandemic world, and it's just going to get worse and worse because our apparent health authorities haven't spoken a word about health yet. There's not a single word about health. It's just about that. They want a pandemic world because it's just like a bunch of pigs in a factory setting. They can't leave. they're stuck in that barn. They can't get away. So now they're, you know, it's more reliable to make money from them because there's massive control.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to free the pigs and we got to free the chickens by how we spend money.
Mm-hmm.
And that will free ourselves. You know, we got to free everything, like change the whole system.
Absolutely. So, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the big challenges a lot of people have is the main strategy that they're using for this pandemic, in my opinion, is fear, of course. Like, I think that's not a surprise for most people. But they're using two types of fear. One is the fear of the virus, which once you understand the terrain theory and how health really and disease really works, then you realize that's just one of the biggest farces you'll ever come across.
that viruses don't exist. Yeah.
Yeah. Just, you know, viruses are a scapegoat to control people through fear and cover up irresponsible, you know, organizations and irresponsible government representatives, because fear is such a powerful force.
Yeah.
So face your fear, and then you realize, wow, I didn't get sick today when I didn't wear a mask. Wow, the next day I didn't get sick when I didn't wear a mask. And if you pay attention, oh my God, I did get sick after I ate McDonald's. Then you start to understand these things. Or I did get sick because of chronic stress. So that's a harder thing to tackle, but it's still that's a thing that you have to solve. So one fear is the virus, this illusion. The other fear is real, very real. And that is, many people realize that if they don't follow the rules, they'll lose their job. And that is a huge, huge challenge for most people. Because if they put their foot down, don't follow the rules, and lose their job, now what the hell are they going to do? So it's a big challenge for people. But I say, if there's a good chance that job that you're in that you don't want to let go of isn't even serving you, it's not even good for you. I don't know how many people I've talked to that, you know, they're not really happy in their job, and they haven't been for years. They're overworked. They're not pursuing their passion. And they might not even be proud of the company that they work for. And they might realize, you know, so for many people, I think if they just face their fears and let go, like it's a big, big deal. But it's a chance, actually, to let go of the job that's not even serving you and start energizing a job that does, or start your own business and start contributing to the world in a way that you really feel good about, and just trust that, you know, the money will come and answers will come, and it might not be easy the whole time. But what do you want to do? Do you want to just sign your soul over and contribute to a pandemic world? Or do you want to risk it and live this life fully, not as a slave, but as a free soul who's wants to do something good with the earth, you know, with humanity?
Mm-hmm. I think like right now is like, I get excited about where we're at right now, because everything that you just said, right? Like talking about like if the aliens were looking at the earth and like seeing how, like, we are so blessed to be living on such a planet that is so gorgeous. Like you're seeing it, like you're staring at the Alpine mountains right now. Like you know, like you're living in it. And I've been fortunate enough to travel enough, and even where we are in Ontario, it is beautiful, and that is just such a blessing. To have that. Yeah, there's the Alpines, just everything like that. It's just amazing, this gift that has been given to us that we have taken for granted, and that, you know, these money hungry, greedy people have come in and manipulated how we're supposed to think and feel, and have totally removed us from nature. They've said, oh, we can make things easier. We can make things easier. We can make things more convenient for you. You know, it was like, oh, you don't need to work on the land so hard. Here's some machines. Oh, here's microwave dinners. Oh, here are all these things. And totally pushed us into comfort and convenience and laziness. And then also, like you said, disease. Like I love the image of using like the pigs, because that is where we're at, right? Like the pigs, they're trapped in the chickens, like they're trapped. They can't move, they can't turn, they can't do anything. And they're just getting injected with vaccines and antibiotics to keep them healthy. But it's like, just let them out. Like, let them be free range, let them be pasture raised, like let them, live on the earth that they're intended to. And that's the same with us. Like we've been isolated way before this pandemic started, right? We've been isolated in our homes. We go to work, we come home, we do the dinner thing, we do whatever, we go to bed, and we go to work again. We don't have time for relieving our family, for friends. Like, we've already been isolated beings. We've already disconnected from community. And now we're at this amazing time in life to get back to the things that matter. And even using myself as an example, like you said, being, for standing up, being terminated from my job, removing all these things, it's literally all it's done is just remove the things that weren't meaningful, that were holding me back, that were, keeping me trapped in a miserable setting that was not fueling my soul. And now it's this opportunity to actually do something meaningful, which is get back to community, which is get back to more nature, which is to help people do that. Now I think my role is to help people see the different way of living. We should never go back to how we were, because that was miserable and that was all an illusion and a lie that was created for us. We have this opportunity to get back to community, get back to the earth, to get back to like meaningful way of living. And I think this is an amazing opportunity for humanity.
Yeah, definitely. It's the Great Awakening.
Yeah.
I agree. It's time. Like, now's the most important time to participate in what you were describing.
Mm-hmm. And
for sure, the opportunity's right here. And if we don't actually do that, it's not looking good.
No,
it's not looking good at all.
Well, Zach Bush says we are the sixth extinction. So he predicts that if we keep living this way, humans will be extinct in like 60 to 80 years. That's not a long time.
Wow. Yeah. I don't think I would disagree with that. That wouldn't be surprising to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't just keep doing that forever.
No.
And I think the rich people that are behind all of this kind of stuff, they've just kind of taken people for granted now, taken people's dependency and unthinking minds for granted. And the system, we've come to this point where the system is so robotic, like you're saying, you just go to work, come home, go to work, come home, that they're just depending on people to remain unthinking and to live in fear and not change and not go into the unknown, not choose their freedom. And I think, and that just leads to real disease. Forget the virus, but if you're stuck in a job that's not making you happy, then you really will probably end up having a disease. So I think one of the most important, there's a spiritual guy named Osho. Lots of people have probably heard of Osho. And one of his teachings is that freedom is more important than love. And I actually used to disagree with that when I heard him say that, but I'm starting, over time I came to realize, wow, freedom heals. And I think human beings were really meant to be free. I mean, of course, if you can connect to a passion that you can stick with for 30 years, then that's amazing. That's totally amazing. But the point is, if you are energizing something like a job, and after 5 years you're bored to death of it, and really you're just paying bills now, you're kind of no longer free. Like, as a human being, you're meant to continuously be creative, like make life an adventure. Quit the freaking job. Just go into the unknown and don't worry about material things. You don't have to have a fancy car. You don't have to have a big house. There's a lot of people that live what's called the soul life. They travel all around and they go to festivals and dance. We got to get our festivals back.
Yes, we do.
And I was just speaking with someone last night, actually, and she quit her job, which wasn't serving her. And now she works, and she's the happiest she's ever been. She worked with an old lady that's 75, and there's no way she could have foreseen how she would survive after quitting her job, right? Of course, it's always the case. You just got to risk it. But now she works with a 75-year-old wise old lady, growing organic food. And this lady grows 1,500 tomato plants every year, and roughly the same amount of pepper plants, and there's eggplants. And she needs help. So now this woman that I know is working with her, and she gets paid well, and she works with her hands. This is all done, no machines, no fuel, no dependency. She gets right out in the field and plants these plants, weeds them, harvests them when it's time. And then she gets to feel good about actually giving people nutrition and supporting the health of people. And when you go past this woman's farm, it's just a beautiful thing to even see. So like, this is the kind of karma you get back. Like, as you face your fears, stand up for yourself, and start pursuing your passions and pursuing a life where you really are contributing to a beautiful world and a better place, then somehow the universe usually supports people, and your health improves, your happiness improves, and you can kind of grow from there. But by the time, once you get to your deathbed, you can look back and feel good about it.
Absolutely. And I think that's probably a good positive way to wrap up and let you get on with your gorgeous day in the mountains. But I think, like, because of everything that we've talked about, like you said, like, we have created this pandemic and the root cause of, creating the disease, and also creating this emptiness, because we've been so disconnected from everything. We are empty beings. Like, we have lost meaning in our lives. We've disconnected from our soul. We've disconnected from spirit, from all these things, nature, and we've left with like voids that the media and these people have come in and said, oh, you need this to feel better. This will make you happy. This will make you happy. So we've been spending money on all these materialistic items, like you said, like these big houses. Then you need, maybe the big backyard pools or the big fancy cars or all these things inside your home. And people have created these lifestyles that they need their job to maintain. And the thing is, like, what is the importance in all those things? And we were fortunate. We got this tiny tin can of a trailer two years ago. And literally we call it a glorified tent. It has nothing in it, just a nice like place for us to sleep. And we took it across Canada, all the way from Ontario to the West Coast, Vancouver Island, for 8 weeks with our 2 boys. And we realized that, like, we literally had nothing. There's no bathroom in there. There's no electricity. It literally was just a place we could like pull in and sleep and not set up a tent. That's why it was a glorified tin tent. And but like, that was like the happiest we'd been in like so long, was with nothing. And so when we came back to our huge 5 bedrooms, 3 full bath house, double car garage, and all this stuff, and it's like, this is a lot of space for what? I was like, I don't like cleaning, I don't like decorating, like why do we have all this? So we ended up selling in last fall and downsizing into like a very, I would call it like a tiny home. And it's old, but we're so much happier in our tiny home than we were in like this big modern new house. And now we're comfortable, and it led us in a position where, I was terminated, and now we're comfortable and it's okay. And things kind of just work out, but we've stripped away all the things that didn't matter. And now we get to focus on the things that do. And I think that's also important, like you said, of getting to the root cause of people taking responsibility, is really looking at like what matters in your life, and what have you created for your life, and what is the meaning behind everything, right? But it really takes a deeper look of looking within. And I think that's where we struggle, is it's very hard to do the inner work. It's very hard to look within, and it's very hard to take responsibility of maybe mistakes made, or maybe you have to look at your values and beliefs, and maybe you do have to realize there was lies made or mistakes happened or whatever, and it's a lot to process. But until we start dealing with our own trauma and our own mistakes, we can't think that the world is going to heal either. It has to start with us, and then the healing can ripple effect throughout. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, beautiful. There's a saying by Paul Chek, and one of his teachings is, if you're not living your dream, then you're definitely living someone else's.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are living the vaccine manufacturers and all the people that are connected to them. We're just building their dream,
Mm-hmm.
The longer we don't face our fears and start pursuing our own. And I like what you said. It makes me think of like a lot of younger people today, teenagers that are committing suicide, there's like suicide is super high. And I've been wanting to make a video about that to try to, connect to people that feel that way, that feel suicidal. Because what I wanted to explain to them is that it's normal to actually feel like that if you're coming into a world like this. Like, this world is really fucked up. Pardon my language. There's a lot of problems. It's not natural. It's not normal. It's not healthy. For all these different reasons. So it's okay and normal to feel that intensely that you don't want to be here. But what's important to also understand next is that you're needed. Like, if you actually feel that way and realize that, then you're needed to actually help create the world we want to see. And so, be free, focus on your freedom in any way you can, and then meditate on it and go for walks and think about how you can actually contribute to a better world. Don't just sign up for the existing system, because you already know that just makes you feel suicidal. Learn how to love yourself. Learn how to figure out what your passions are by being free for a while if you don't know what they are yet. And then start pursuing a life that really is going to help change this world. And I think that'll help people that are suicidal actually want to stay here, because we really do need everyone to contribute who can to this world, to a better world.
Absolutely. And I think it's in John, and I will bring up a scripture just because it always, when I was going through some hard times, it really kind of helped me. And it was, Jesus said, if the world hates you, and I'm not going to say it properly, if the world hates you, know that it hated me first. And it's because you are not of this world. And to me, that meant it's because we see that this is not right. Exactly what you just said. This is not the world that we're meant to live. We are meant to be living something differently. So if you are feeling that pushback, and if you are feeling, hate, it's because we're not meant to be living in this illusion that they have designed for us and trapped us in. We're meant for something else and something better. So I think that's what we need to continue to create and focus on, exactly what you said, and know that we have this amazing opportunity to create something beautiful and along the lifestyle that you're currently able to live right now in Switzerland. And I wanted
to quickly say one thing, because we showed this view that I'm seeing right now, and it's really beautiful and everything. And I think, like, for some people, I don't know, like, in the past, like years ago, I lived in the city and I wasn't happy where I was living. So I want to just touch on that, because, for some people, I don't know where any viewer that's, we have different viewers, right? But the point is, if you're not happy where you are, make sure you set a goal for what you would want, and then trust and have faith that eventually you will get there. And that's what I did. I lived in the city. I wasn't happy. And now I'm here on a path. I'm very happy where I am. And yes, it took time and it took work, but I lived a life of meaning along the way. And now finally I've gotten here. So I just want to kind of just, give some words of encouragement to people. Set your goals if you're not happy, and don't give up till you're living in the world you want to see. Mm-hmm. And forget about trying to convince other people to change, because that usually doesn't work. A lot of people aren't going to wake up through this pandemic. So bless them and move on, and keep your energy focused into the new world we want to see.
Mm-hmm. I feel like so we'll have to touch base again. I just always love talking to you. I love your insight and your perspective and your knowledge on everything. And for those watching that might not know Paul, but check him out at Wheel of Life. And we didn't even touch on that's a whole other conversation we'll have to have, is like the purpose of cancer. And it's something I've touched on a couple interviews with other people through like a German New Medicine perspective, but that'll be another topic I'll have to bring you on for. But make sure you check out Paul. He's a wealth of knowledge and so much insight, and I always enjoy our conversation. So I'm glad we were finally able to connect. See, it was meant to be today.
Yes, it was. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for connecting again, Kristen. Thanks for all the work you're doing.
Well, thank you.
And I want to say you look fantastic. You just look so healthy and vibrant.
Well, thank you.
You just look so good. So I'm just so glad that you're one of the people really helping contribute to leading the world in a better place, into a better reality. So
I hope
thanks for
so.
that.
You're welcome. Well, you've been an inspiration for me too, and we're all doing our work, and hopefully we can create this, better world that I know that you and I both envision. So I'm very hopeful. But enjoy the mountains. Send me pictures. I miss them. And
Okay.
I'll talk to you soon.
I'll
Hey,
send you a picture of some sheep.
perfect. I love it.
They're cute. Okay.
Okay. All right. Bye.